I'm here with Francis, who is a meteorologist with the Mount Washington Observatory. I'm Ellen. I'm the brand manager at Eastern Mountain Sports. I'm feeling very lucky because I'm getting the Higher Summits forecast early, and I'll be the first to hear it along with all of you. So what we're going to do first, I think, is kick off with some questions that we had come through today. If that sounds good with you, Francis.
Sounds awesome. Let's bring them on. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. And also I'll be looking at the post on Facebook. So if you have any questions that come up, feel free to comment and we can try to cover those as well at the end. The first question we had was referring to Maya's rain on snow research that was published recently on your page. With rising snow depths and increased rain on snow, are there any researched possible implications for wildlife and alpine vegetation?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So the AMC and Mount Washington are doing some collaborative research on looking at how the tree line might be changing with warming temperatures and increased rain on snow events. So definitely a good reference to check out there. I believe it was also covered in a previous Science in the Mountains. But myself personally, I'm a little less familiar with that research, but definitely I think a really good area of research going forward. A really good idea at the very least. Yeah.
We could probably link that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Cool. That was a great question. The next one we had was, when hiking above tree line in the rain, are high winds likely or is it variable?
So it's variable, especially during the summertime. I actually really like this question. So of course, any kind of rainfall will bring slippery conditions, so that's its own hazard. But during the summertime, we're under high pressure quite a lot up here. And so sometimes we do get some spotty showers and thunderstorms, and those can produce their strong winds on their own, but a lot of the times, the background flow, we call it, is pretty light. Really, rain's going to be associated with high winds when you get into the fall, winter, and spring months as well. Pretty much, on most occasions. Very rarely do you have precipitation during those months with light or no winds. So yeah, really good question about safety above tree line there.
Interesting, yeah. The next one was, why is it important to measure both precipitation and precipitation on snow?
Sure, yeah, another awesome question. These are 3 in a row that have been great. So precipitation on snow actually will change the characteristics of that snow, I should say. So when you just have snowfall, you have that nice powder. It's really easy to ski and hike on. But when you get any kind of rainfall, that snow will become ice. And so not only is that important for recreation, but that ice will actually allow any kind of water to flow freely down into the valleys and result in ice jam flooding and things like that. So it's really important to kind of know the characteristics of the snowpack, see when it's going to melt. And so any kind of outside precipitation will actually help to further melt that snow more quickly. So that's why we're really focused in on those rain on snow events and how they're changing with time up here on the summit.
Yeah, Maya's research was really interesting yesterday. I think that's why a few of these questions came through.
Oh, definitely. Glad to see that people are watching our Science in the Mountains and getting interested in our science up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess kind of related to that is just, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the overall precipitation totals and the records that you've had. Has that been over the whole summer, a month, and what does that kind of look like?
So the short answer is yes and yes. So we had our record wet July, 17.08 inches of rain there, surpassing the previous record. And we did actually break our record summer rainfall just last week. So the previous record was around 37 inches or so, 37.8. That was set back in 1998. And we're well above 42 inches of rain now and counting. Of course, summer isn't quite over. We've got about half a month left. So yeah, so really wet period of time up here on the summits, and snowy as well to start the summer, if you can believe it. So June actually saw about 8.4 inches of new snowfall, which surpassed our previous record set back all the way in 1959 at 8.1 inches. So it's been a really cool and extreme summer. And Carl's off camera, but we're 2 observers who've just been really lucky being on shift for these extremes and measuring a lot of these record-breaking, newsworthy precipitation totals.
Yeah, wow. Has Carl had a good experience?
I would say so, yeah. He started with a cold snap that we had back in February. Okay. As an intern, and now he's with us up here on the summit, kind of behind the scenes today, helping out with the camera work. But
thanks, Carl.
He's also covering nights, so he's a little sleepy at the moment.
Okay, he's sleeping behind the camera. Also, what were the instruments that Alexis and Alex were using to measure the precipitation? There was one outside and one inside that I saw.
Yeah, so let me step off camera really fast, actually, and grab those if you'd like.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a couple. So one here, they're both not very high tech, but really just a big old bucket of rain, a big old bucket that we have calibrated to measure. We have a ruler as well that we stick in there to measure the actual liquid precipitation that's falling. So if you see this up on the summit, just mind your distance because it's really important that we collect that precipitation data. So we collect it in the larger can first, and then every 6 hours or so we come back in and we pour it into a really small and quite old graduated cylinder here. So this dates back. This is U.S. Weather Bureau, so that's before the National Weather Service. So very, very old.
Wow.
It's 90 years old or so with this device. So yeah, not really terribly complicated. We also do have a ruler that's calibrated to measure liquid precipitation. So yeah, as I said, every 6 hours, unless there's lightning or incredibly strong winds, then we'll kind of delay that precipitation measurement and actually do it the next 6 hour period if possible. So yeah, that's kind of our big thing in the summertime, just lightning safety up here. Not really going out to measure that precipitation if there is lightning around the summit area. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. Well, thank you for showing us the instruments as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think that was it for questions. I'll have a look at the comments just in case, but I think we can dive into the Higher Summits weekend forecast. And I know you had some cool in-depth charting that you wanted to show us as well to kind of get a closer look at what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I'm a weather geek. Being up here on the summit, so I like to talk about sort of what's going on behind the scenes with the forecast. And so there's a lot to talk about in the next couple of days. So let's get started with the current conditions, shall we? So a good place to start with any forecast is what's going on at the moment. So at the moment, we can see some fairly gusty winds up here on the summit, right around, actually a little bit below average we're seeing in the summer, but picking up by the hour as a storm system is moving in. And of course, we've got a lot of rain to talk about. Temperatures up and down the auto-road, pretty mild for this time of year. We're right around 51 degrees on the summit, down at the base 64 degrees. I should say it's probably quite chilly actually for mid-August, around average for us, but chilly closer to the base. And visibility, I wish I had a more exciting news here, but less than a 16th of a mile, so you could barely see your hands stepping outside to do observations. And I'll actually show you all what that looks like from the deck cam. Hopefully we can all see this. So yeah, pretty gray, dreary day. We've been in and out of some drizzle. We've had a lot of fog, of course. Taking a look at Wildcat, more of the same. Big shocker there, lots and lots of cloud cover. Clouds really all the way down into the valley levels. And so we'll come back to me for a second here with the camera going back.
Has it been like that for a few days, Francis, or has the visibility cleared a little?
We had a very brief pocket of clearing this afternoon. I was actually excited to kind of see the sun.
Yeah.
So I did the observation, took care of that. But yeah, right back into the clouds. So I'd say about an hour or so of sunlight up here in the last 24 hours, unfortunately. But yeah, really a sign of things to come. And so we'll take a look now at the satellite. And I'll animate it here. So this is looking at New England, New Hampshire is right here. Really the big story. Lots and lots of clouds. We can see this big cloud deck streaming from south to north. That's pretty much what we've been dealing with all day. Southerly winds pushing in that moisture. And that's going to set the stage for some heavy rainfall. But first, we'll zoom out a little bit to the regional area. So this is taking a more zoomed out look at the general weather picture. You can see our next weather maker here, a pretty strong cold front and storm brewing over Canada. You can see the sharp little tail of clouds there. That's an area where the front is actually moving and pushing up air. Air is rising in the form of thunderstorms there. But over us, we've got a weak area of low pressure that's moving north, spreading those clouds and summit fog. And so, yeah, keeping us nice and socked in for the weekend. And so I'll talk about what this system is going to be doing for Friday through really Sunday. It's going to be impacting us for quite a few days. And so we'll go to our forecast models. This is one of our trusted models here. We're looking at future precipitation, or what's going to be falling out of the sky. And so we just talked about a record wet summer, and that's going to continue, of course, into the weekend. So I'll stand on this side so we can all maybe get a better view of what's going on. So we're going to look at precipitation going forward. So this is tonight. We've got New Hampshire right there in the center of the map, where we've got a lot of widely scattered showers and some thunderstorms, especially to the west. That's that cold front I was talking about a little earlier. And we're going to watch in time as these showers become more numerous. Gonna have to deal with this bit of a zoomed out view. So this is tomorrow morning, moving into Friday morning. We've got showers becoming more widespread. That southerly flow is going to be pushing that rain to the north. And meanwhile, we're going to be tracking what we call a squall line. So that's a narrow band of intense thunderstorms moving across portions of Vermont. So this is around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And advancing the clock a little bit, this is around noon. That squall line will be pushing through, and heavy rainfall and some strong winds as well. We'll talk about winds in just a little bit. And so we'll go through time here. continued heavy rainfall. Chances for thunderstorms continuing. This is now Friday afternoon around lunchtime or 2 p.m. And then we'll continue into the evening. Continued chances, lots of greens and yellows there. Lots of more thunderstorms possible through the overnight. Quickly coming to an end during Friday evening into Saturday. And so we'll see that sort of diminish. This is Friday night now. A nice bit of clearing, but probably some summit fog as well. We've got a lot of moisture that's going to be trapped underneath this area of low pressure. And so that will sort of continue. We'll see showers once again on the increase, unfortunately, for the day on Saturday. And another batch of rain is going to be moving in from the west. And so we've got that here right over the White Mountains. This is again around lunchtime Saturday. Unfortunately, some rain, although less heavy and less of a risk for thunderstorms Saturday. Still it'll be quite breezy and much more chilly around this time. And those showers will continue to rotate around Sunday. And yeah, unfortunately, some more of the same Sunday, more of those greens and yellows showing up. So we really we just can't break this rainy pattern up here, unfortunately. But another story of the system is going to be after that cold front passes through, we'll see some much cooler air move in. And so we'll take a look at that. Here, we're looking at temperatures forecasted right around 5,000 feet or so. So at the moment, you can see lots of yellows and oranges. That's indicating temperatures around 50 or so degrees up here on the summit. And we'll see that southerly flow pushing in that nice warm air. So at least it's warm up here, right? It might be gloomy, but we've got some warmer temperatures to work with. And so we'll continue the clock here. Tomorrow will be kind of a transitional day. This is tomorrow afternoon getting into the evening. You can see that warmth starting to get pushed away by these areas of green and cooler conditions coming in from New York State and Vermont. And you can see those greens, those are much cooler temperatures. Those are temperatures falling down into the middle and lower 40s. This is now going into later Friday night and Saturday. And Saturday is just going to be kind of a chilly and raw day up here on the summits. High temperatures in the low 40s. That busy northwest wind is going to make it feel more like the upper 30s into the 20s. So you'll want to be prepared if you are venturing out to the White Mountains for Saturday with extra gear, extra layers as well. You don't want to be caught outside in these types of conditions with hypothermia risks increasing throughout the day Saturday. And that cold air is going to kind of stick around. This is moving now into Sunday. With maybe some warmer air right behind this air mass. But yeah, Sunday is going to be more of the same, unfortunately, sort of chilly and raw conditions with a pretty busy northerly and northwesterly wind. And I'll show that wind now really quickly here. And so we've got, of course, southerly winds today, kind of reversing the clock a little bit. And those south winds are going to increase into the overnight. This is early Friday morning. These are wind gusts in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range, moving into Friday. And then we've got winds sort of increasing even a bit more tomorrow afternoon, maybe gusts approaching 70 miles per hour with sustained winds in the 60s or 50s and 60s. So very much tropical storm force winds with occasional hurricane force gusts tomorrow. And then into tomorrow evening, maybe a little bit of a lull in the winds as the center of the low pressure passes right overhead. We have less of that pressure gradient or difference in pressure. And so that tends to calm the winds down a little bit. And we'll see that move out quickly as that system pulls away. And we'll see our winds go northwesterly, ushering in that colder air. And again, increasing northwest winds, we're thinking between 45 and 50 miles per hour for the majority of the weekend, with gusts into the 60 mile per hour range as well. It's just going to make it feel downright chilly up here on the summits. And this is going into Saturday night, and then Sunday, see more of the same, those isobars, or not isobars, but those wind bars, I should say, pointed from the northwest. We've got a lot of much cooler air filtering down. And that just continues right into Sunday. So I wish I had some better news for the weekend, but kind of an active weather period. Do you have any questions from the audience? Eleanor, do you have any questions yourself?
Yeah, I have a question. You know, the whole weekend sounds kind of not great weather-wise. Were there any areas there where you thought maybe it wasn't the best day or time frame for hikers to be going out, or should they just consistently check the higher summits forecast all weekend in case that changes?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that latter option there. Just kind of checking in with the higher summits forecast. We typically go out to about 48 hours and update our forecast daily. So I'm suspecting that some of the details here will change. Maybe an afternoon will clear up a bit more, but definitely I think we're pretty much locked in for cooler temperatures this weekend. And again, those exposure risks if you don't have winter and fall layers on if you're planning on visiting us. But those showers will be thankfully a bit more spotty in nature moving into Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's kind of a silver lining there, but we're going to have to kind of iron those details out as we get closer to the forecast.
Got it. Well, you've got your Thunderhead peak on, so you're ready to go.
Exactly.
Thanks, Francis.
And yeah, I have a link here to the Higher Summits forecast. If anyone, of course, is watching right now and wants to see what the weather might do, go to mountwashington.org/forecast, and we'll be updating the Higher Summits forecast. Carl will actually be updating it 4 a.m. Bright and early tomorrow morning, and I'll be back tomorrow afternoon to update that forecast. And I'm hoping that we can maybe get a few more breaks of sunshine in that forecast for everyone. But yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Let me check and just make sure that we don't have, I think we're good on the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much, friends. I hope you all have a good rest of the weekend up there, and thank you for all the important work you do.
Absolutely, and thanks for having us and bearing with us with those technical difficulties. I guess the monitor wanted to go a little haywire for a second there.
Of course, we get a behind the scenes look at what it's like to be there. So that's really cool.
Never a dull moment. Well, thank you all for watching as well, and I hope you all have a safe and enjoyable weekend.
You as well. See you, Francis. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.